So, first and foremost, guys, upcoming next, we've got Natalie Jackson from CBiz, their director of demand generation. Let's go ahead and get her in here, shall we? All right. And here she comes, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make sure she got here safe, by the way, too. Let's see. There she is. Oh my goodness, Natalie. Did you get here safely? It looks like looks like the vibes are nice and spooky and scary over there.
I'm ready to tell some scary stories.
Good. I'm excited. First and foremost, I hope you got here safely. I hope you avoided the madman that's running around the parking lot at Emo Camp. Also, apparently, Christina and Shell saw some zombies walking around, so be careful for those.
Well, is there anything scarier than B2B email? I mean, this is terrifying.
hey, things happen. Oh man, I just realized my microphone was all the way over here. But yeah, let's get this session going. First and foremost, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I had this wonderful discovery that if you turn your ring light upside down, it turns into a super scary flashlight. So fun fact for your Halloween week meetings, make it a little spookier.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, cool, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so like I said, we've got digging your way out of the B2B email graveyard, how to use creativity to engage your buyers. Natalie Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, from CBiz. If you got any questions, please throw them in the question tab and remember, use the upvote function so we can make sure that we get the right questions answered and stuff like that. All right, Natalie, I'm going to go ahead and make sure and walk around email camp, make sure all of our campers and counselors, everyone's safe and stuff. Got to watch out for this madman. But let me know if you need anything, and I'll be right back for the Q&A. All right?
Do it. All right.
All right.
Hello, everyone. I am thrilled to be here. This is one of my favorite topics. It's also a super spooky topic. As Thomas mentioned, my name is Natalie Jackson. I am a career B2B marketer. I'm an email geek. I'm a firm believer in customer journeys. I'm a novelist. You'll see why that matters as we get into the session. And as you can tell by the way I blend into my background, I'm a possible ghost. It could be a possible ghost right here talking to you about B2B email today. All right, so table of contents, what we're going to cover in short order. We're going to talk a little bit about existing B2B email strategies, how to not get buried alive by some of those B2B scary stories, and then some ways that you can bring your B2B email strategy back to life. Let's dig in. I know we only have about 30 minutes. So starting off with something that I think all of us B2B marketers have probably heard or maybe even said at one point in our career, and that is, text-only emails work really well in B2B marketing. And I'm not going to deny it. It's true. It's a pretty effective format for B2B email. And truthfully, it's probably never going to die. This is the eternal life of B2B email. We're always going to see these. And actually, the one that I'm sharing here is not a bad email. It uses personalization, talks to an asset that we're marketing, talks to the company I'm with, takes a personalized approach to some of the channels. It's using research to create a personalized experience. That's great. That's perfectly fine. But sometimes we take that style a little too far. With these types of emails, you can go straight to the graveyard if you're not careful. If you take a look at that first email there, I've got an automatic unsubscribe from a database. It's a mystery. Who sent me this email? Why are they unsubscribing me? Who is the email delivery team? I can't even tell by looking at the domain who is sending me this email or why they're removing me from the database or if I should be terrified. I don't know. So sometimes we see people use these scare tactics to get you to engage with that text-based email. In the middle here, you'll see one that I personally love. It's a fake forward on a Black Friday discount. So they're trying to scare me into opening this email with this fake forward subject line. But the idea here is that I'm supposed to believe an internal email thread somehow got uploaded mysteriously to their ESP and then somehow mysteriously distributed to their entire mailing list, surely by accident. All of us email marketers know, of course, that that's not actually a thing. Be really impressive if that happened. And then here, lastly, you've got this idea that you're going to trick me into responding to your email with a silly set of questions. Now, this one's pretty light. Raise your hand if you've gotten the one that says, I'll assume because you're not responding to my email that you're tied up in a basement somewhere or stuck in a tree, right? Maybe I'm not engaging because I'm not interested in what it is that you have to sell. So how do we avoid this situation? How do we not get buried alive? How do we maintain engagement, get everybody excited about what we're sending them without trickery, without spooky scare tactics, or without overusing that text-based format? The answer is you got to get creative and you got to go back to the basics. First off, foundationally, what is email? Email is a relationship tool. This is hard for a lot of B2B marketing organizations to wrap their head around. They want to use it for acquisition. They want to use it for selling. They want to use it to push an agenda. But that's not what email is for. Email is for building and establishing and creating strong relationships between a brand and a recipient. If you look at the reasons why people will subscribe to an email, it's usually because of one of three reasons. The first, you'll see here, the Adobe email all the way over to your left is offering a discount. That's really straightforward, not very hard to see through that, right? And it's a very common B2C email tactic. So I know in B2B email, it's a lot harder to get people on board with this with a discount, but you'll see it here in Adobe. They're offering a discount. If you set up time to talk and get a demo, they'll give you 25% off your first 5 licenses. The second, far more common reason that people will subscribe to email in the B2B space is because they simply want thought leadership. They want you to send them relevant information about what it is that you do and why you do it. That's the whole purpose of that email. So what they want to know is, what is this special thing that you can offer? So really good emails here. They've got a ton of thought leadership. They've got a ton of knowledge about the email industry, and they're going to share that with you, and they're going to send it to you via email so you don't have to go track it down. The third reason, and this is one that we often forget about in B2B email, is people simply want updates on what it is that you sell. What do you sell? What's the offer here? How are they going to make the most of your product, and keep them up to date with what that's like? So you'll see Google My Business is just encouraging you, hey, reminder, don't forget to update your hours during the holidays. So these kinds of emails resonate really well with B2B buyers. The next most important thing for you to remember as you rethink revitalizing your B2B email strategy is start with the customer journey in mind. So strong relationships start with value, and value comes from understanding where your customer, where your recipient is in their buying cycle. You can't know that if you don't map your customer journey. I know it sounds spooky, and believe me, it can be really scary to do this, but the information that you're going to get from taking the time to document every single interaction a person may have with your brand, depending on what source they come from. So did they come from a trade show or a content download, or did they attend a webinar? Taking the time to map that journey process for them is going to help you understand what kinds of content to include in your email strategy, depending on where they are in the journey and what they might need to know from you at the moment. Yes, it's a scary process and it involves a lot of data, but the output of this is going to really help you revitalize your email strategy. So let's take a look at some of my favorite, spookiest, re-energized, living, breathing email strategies. What can you do as you think about bringing that strategy back to life? Well, let's start with nurtures. These are really common in the B2B space. And I would encourage you to get playful and timely with those email nurtures. They don't have to be text-based. They don't have to look like they're coming from a salesperson. They can be more fun. Over here on the left, I absolutely love this email, and I know it looks horrendous, but it's such a fun, playful, timely, relevant nurture. It's from a company here in Kansas City called Cluster Truck. And when they launched their service, they had a menu service where you could order food for your entire office and people could pick different types of food. What was really great about it is they framed it up like it was a white paper download campaign, which is brilliant because they knew their audience. They knew that they were new to the area, so they had to do something that was a little bit different and grab a little bit more attention. So it looks like really a white paper distribution campaign. And if you can see the button at the bottom, it says download the burrito. If you hit download burrito, it takes you to their online ordering system to see all of their menu options and tells you a little bit more about the service. So it's brilliant because they're saying, hey, we're marketing to B2B marketers. We know that they tend to have a strong resonance with the white paper format. Let's be playful and do that instead of doing like some kind of fancy, glitzy, all image email that they've probably seen 1,000 times. In the middle here, sometimes it's not about design, sometimes it's about the back-end strategy. So YRC has a quote tool for shipping. And the cool part about this is if you use that quote tool, the back end of that email checks to see if you're an existing customer or a prospective new customer. And you get a different email experience depending on that one data point. If you're not an existing customer, you go into a nurture campaign that helps you identify why you should become one. It tells you the benefits. It outlines it very clearly. If you are an existing customer, you go right into your salesperson's or your account representative's inbox so that you can get familiar with what it is that you're clearly missing since you're using an online tool that you have access to via your account. And then on the third here, I love this campaign from Influence. I used to work there, and this was one of the campaigns that I created when I was still there. And what's great about it is because it's marketing automation software, they can take something like contact score and show it to you as a personalized variable. Now, it might be kind of weird for someone to do if you're not in marketing automation or email, but in this case, it was an example campaign that said if you had done enough research by looking at website content, by downloading email or downloading white paper content, or by engaging with the emails that you were getting sent, and you had reached a contact score of 30 or greater, you got this email distributed to you that basically said, hey, we know your contact score is high. Here's how you can build something like this for your audience. So what about the next steps? What else can you do? Where else can we get creative here? Well, one thing you can do in your nurtures is you can actually start to create journey branches from a single email. So if you're telling me, what if I don't know where somebody is in the buyer journey when they enter my nurture campaign? All you have to do is ask them. So when you're sending out, say, for example, thought leadership content, like we've got this not so spooky ghost buttons email, sometimes it's as simple as just dropping in 2 calls to action buttons. Gasp, I know, 2 calls to action goes against everything we're told to do as email marketers. Sometimes it works. So if you're not quite sure in a nurture, if somebody's still just trying to learn more, or if they're actually ready to have a conversation, you can prioritize the learn more while still giving them the option via a ghost button to get a demo or to contact sales if they're ready to take the next step. Now, also similarly here, we've got this great email that's actually an eyeglasses company. And what they've done is, first of all, they establish their differentiators. They're giving you a very clear picture of why they're special. And then they're just asking you, hey, do you want to shop optical glasses or sleep glasses? Now, what's brilliant is that not only are they using a way for you to control your user experience, but they can use the click data to figure out what kinds of emails you're more interested in and send you stuff that's more personalized moving forward. Sometimes, though, you get these leads that go quiet, and you've got to think about strategies for reawakening them. So they've gone into, some sort of trance, and maybe you need to break the spell, bring them back to life. There are several ways that you can do that, especially as you're looking at long nurtures in the B2B space that could be anywhere from 18 months to 2 years long. Really Good Emails has an excellent strategy for this. They want you to get into their email library and they want you to engage. And the way that they'll do that is if you're not engaging, you're going to get an email that says, hey, 7,569 users have saved emails in their library. And so far, you've only saved 2. That's only 2. So it's kind of using that fear of missing out, using your personalized data points to say, you're not as engaged as the rest of the people in our library or in our thought leadership circle. So why don't you get in there and take advantage of those features? I also really love this middle one here where it basically calls out the fact that you're getting this email because it's been a long time since you've engaged with anything. And it gives you some quick startup ideas like, hey, if you haven't done anything, is it because maybe you don't know what to do? Maybe you're testing out a new software tool and you're not quite sure what the next step is. So it's going to give you some really good ideas as to what steps you can take. Hey, go try this, go build this, go get involved in this other thing. The last one here, and this is something we talk about a lot in terms of when should we purge people from from our B2B email databases is simply ask them what they want. And I know that's really, really scary for a lot of B2B marketers to ask themselves, like, hey, what if they opt out? What if they say no? What if they unsubscribe? Well, you probably didn't want them on your database in the first place. They're taking up room. They may be hurting your deliverability. They're just taking up extra space and they're not going to engage. If somebody wants off your B2B list, let them off your list. So be it. But you've also got this idea that maybe there are people who do want to stay on the list. So maybe they haven't engaged right now. Maybe it's been a while since they've engaged. But by simply asking, hey, do you want to be unsubscribed? You can get a really clear picture of the people who both really don't want to be there and also really do want to be there. You may ask, what about the vast majority of people who will probably not respond to this email positively or negatively? You can still remove them and take them into a different channel. And by that, I mean, you don't have to get rid of them forever. You don't have to, ban them to all eternity. What you can do is upload them into a platform like LinkedIn or into a programmatic tool, and you can continuously serve them relevant ads, maybe some of your white paper content, some of your thought leadership, while not keeping them on your email list, because clearly that's not a spot that they're primed to engage in for right now. So let's think about what else. One thing I love to talk about in B2B emails, sometimes it's just as simple as reducing the barriers to conversion. We have really complicated processes, really complicated companies and service lines and back-end ways that we distribute leads. Sometimes we get too caught up in those processes and stop to think about how someone might be experiencing our content. So here are 3 really good examples about how you can just simply reduce those barriers to conversion and make it easier for people to engage with you. Influence built a fake t-shirt shop. Rather than telling people about how their marketing automation platform connected to e-commerce engines to create really great e-commerce email experiences, rather than writing a blog about that or creating a white paper, they simply built a t-shirt shop, a fake t-shirt shop full of their email t-shirts. And if you went in and engaged, it actually would say, abandon your shirt, to see a good sample abandoned cart campaign in practice. Around Black Friday, we thought it would be fun to do something similar, but with a Black Friday email sale. So you'll see here, it's got some thought leadership involved along the far right corner. It's telling you where to place various elements of a Black Friday email, but it's also reducing barriers to conversion by simply saying, here's your code, shop now, go have fun, engage with this tool. Soapbox is doing what we're talking about with reducing barriers to conversion very visually. So they've kept the email content very short. They've made the button very prominent at the bottom of the visual funnel, and they're making it very clear what they want you to do. Hey, go check it out. Watch a video, get engaged, see what we're about. If we're a fit, great. If we're not, that's fine too. We've made it really easy for you to just quickly decide if this is a fit or not. And then the Google Ads email here, I love this. So is it visually exciting? Is it really design friendly? I mean, it's fine, but what it's doing is it's clearly outlining with these bullet points exactly what you need to do to go make your first ad. So it's not confusing, it's walking you through the steps, it's keeping everything very simple, and what the desired outcome of this email, what they want you to do with this email is very clear. They want you to go create an ad. How clear could it be? But it's kind of avoiding that whole B2B convoluted, I'm going to write you several paragraphs of text and then say something nebulous at the end, like, let me know if it makes sense for us to connect. There's nothing unclear about the desired outcome of these emails. Something else you might consider is supporting the sale with differentiators and personalization. Hugely important in B2B, a lot of times because in that B2B buyer cycle, you're up against your competition. And a lot of times in B2B, we're highly commoditized. So there may not be a lot in terms of features differentiation, but what you can demonstrate is where you have a different personal one-to-one experience with your brand and your customers. So you could think about maybe creating a landing page where you're creating a customized recap of your demo or your sales conversation. And then you can follow that up with email by just saying, hey, here's who you met with today. Here's a recap of what you told us. And then at the bottom of that email, use that space to carve out your key differentiators. So what's special about your brand? And doing this with the idea that you know you're up against your competition and they're going to be saying a lot of the same things that you're saying when it comes down to features or service. This gives you a real advantage to talk about how the experience of your brand is different. Not your features, not your services, but the experience. And a lot of times in B2B, that's where our real differentiator is, how you experience our brand. You can also kind of take that next step. So once you do win those deals, make sure that you're also establishing a client relationship. This is really, really important in B2B because oftentimes referrals and recommendations and reviews are one of our top performing lead sources. So if anybody ever says to you, like, stay in your lane, you're a lead generation, not in B2B, you're not. In B2B, you also have to take into consideration what's happening on the back end of that client experience. And this is where you could do something like have an onboarding campaign. Obviously, very easy to do if you're in software. If you're in B2B software, then what you've got is an opportunity to showcase your features, or you could do what Adobe does and have some training videos. Asana links you directly to create your first tasks to get you right in that software and get you right engaged from the get-go. But don't sit here and say to me, oh, I can't do that. I'm in services. Of course you can do it. Even services can do it. You'll see here in the middle, I absolutely love this. It's basically introducing you to the equivalent of your account manager. And if we could scroll down on our tiny screen here, what you'd see is all of the very personal details, things to know, ways to start a conversation with this new individual. It talks about Olivia's likes and dislikes, her interests outside of work, some of her favorite things about the company, and some of her key bio stats that are going to be really relevant to establishing that strong relationship between the account manager and this new company's customer. So you can definitely do this in services. It just means you're going to have to be a little creative with your variables and how you're producing those in your marketing automation platform. You can also take some of that data that you're collecting. And I love making data pretty and accessible because you can do this for a couple reasons. As we talk about the client relationship, you're showcasing the value that you're adding to your client using visuals. You can take these same kinds of emails, I call them milestone emails, and you can show off some of the high-level statistics to your lead funnel. And this is a great way to talk about differentiators when you're talking about B2B email. So Smartsheet's kind of pulling in some of their key statistics and using those visual orientations so that you don't have to read a whole bunch of copy or look at bulleted content and say, oh, okay, 25% blah, blah. No, it's visual. It's all easy to consume. You also have to remember that even in the B2B space, and I know a lot of you are like, blah, blah, Outlook. I hear you. But even in the B2B space, we buy with our eyes. How can you take the data that you have and make it a visual experience instead of just talking about it in giant blocks of content? These are three really great examples. And of course, because I said Outlook, and I know a lot of you are already grumbling and thinking to yourself, oh, Outlook. Yes, beware the curse of Outlook. And it is, in fact, a dark, dark curse. Maybe one day the spell will be lifted, but for the short run, you do have to take into consideration how your emails will render in Outlook. And that's just the sad reality of being a B2B email marketer. It's terrifying. Fortunately, there are lots of workarounds for this. So of course, as we sit here and know that Email on Acid is part of this great conference, that's an awesome tool you can use. Pre-flight your emails via something like Email on Acid. Make sure that they're rendering correctly, that the images are downloading the way you would expect. And also be sure you pre-flight it with email images turned off, like I've done here. And you can do that in Email on Acid. It's going to give you a really good experience of what is this going to look like with images turned off in the Outlook inbox. There are, of course, lots of great coding tips out there, template tips, and be sure that you're really familiar with those. Know, for example, that as we think about image width, one thing that sometimes you see in your own inbox is that people will upload that really beautiful 1800 wide pixel image as their header. And then they're like, oh, well, let's just reset the code to 600 pixels wide. Outlook doesn't do that. It's going to display that 1800 pixel wide image, regardless of what you tell the code to do. So keep this in mind. If you're not familiar with coding hacks in Outlook, be sure to reach out to someone who is. There are some great members of the Email Geeks community who can help with this. And of course, Email on Asset has that awesome tool for you to pre-flight your Outlook emails and make sure they're going to look the way you expect. All right, I am ready to answer any spooky stories or spooky questions. And thank you so much for having me today. I look forward to chatting more with you. I think we do have a couple questions in the chat. Yes. All right. So question one, do we have any suggestions as to how to make B2B subject lines without seeming gimmicky or casual? That's a great question, Caitlin. I often think that sometimes we over-process ourselves in B2B email. And like we think, well, I'm in professional services, right? And so there's a tendency to be like, well, in professional services, you have to just be boring and straightforward. But like, puns work the same way in B2B email that they work in B2C email. One thing you can do is tee things up with stats. So like if you know your audience really well, one of my key audiences, for example, is financial decision makers. What do financial people love? Well, they love numbers. So are there numbers that you can incorporate into your subject lines? Questions tend to work really, really well in B2B subject lines. So you can kind of get into that mindset and say, how can I tease out information that I'm sending in the subject line? All right, Alexandria wants to know. Go ahead, Thomas. Are you going to ask me?
No, you're good. I had some brief mic issues. A ghost just got into my mic, and then I was just talking to myself. I blame the spirits. But
right,
yeah, like
right.
you were saying,
the spirits of Outlook are coming
yes.
into
yes, the poltergeist.
The
yes, the spam poltergeist of the pre-flight from Outlook is coming after me. So, like you said, yeah, we have it from Alexandria. How to improve click rate in B2B. I'm having a hard time getting that metric up.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that one of the things that gets overlooked the most in B2B email is what the content and copy says. And I think that like if you're seeing declining click rates, the first question I would ask myself is, who is this content in service to? Is this content in service to my sales team, or is this content in service to the person opening the email? And a lot of times in B2B, particularly, if you ask yourself the hard question, the email is probably in service to your sales team. And that's where you see declining click rates. So make sure that the content you are sending is relevant to the recipient first and foremost. And then secondarily, that's where you might say like, okay, back-end processes, how do I want to distribute this to a salesperson if, they reach a certain kind of category.
There you go. Okay, and then looks like we got this double question from Julia. She's asking, how long do you wait to send the read engagement emails? How do you figure out the cadence? Is it just one email or is it a nurture?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would probably do a couple. I would do like, an initial like, hey, we noticed you're not engaged, and then give them like one more chance. I would probably say, hey, I'm going to give you one more chance in that second or third email and be like, just FYI, here's what's happening. If you don't tell us anything, you're going to not get emails from us. I would say map it to your average opportunity timeline. So like in your space, not necessarily in your company, but in your space, is the average contract 1 year in length, 2 years in length, 3 years in length, and I would do whatever that length is plus 6 months. And that way you're going to make sure that you're capturing interest. It's one of the things that happens a lot in B2B is that you'll have somebody who's really engaged right now and they think they're going to buy, and you get all excited because you're looking at their engagement metrics go up and you're like, yes, they're going to buy. And what you don't know is that they went to procurement and procurement was like, no. And, now they've got to wait 12 months or whatever. And it's not that they're not going to buy from you. It's that they're not going to buy from you right now. Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful that you're not purging your list too soon, which is why I like to say map it to the industry contract length plus 6 months.
Ooh, watch out, y'all. Gotta purge. Sometimes gotta do that purge, sometimes not gonna do that purge.
And they don't have to be gone forever. I mean, it's not like you're banishing them for all eternity. It's just that you're moving them to a different channel.
Yeah. I'm loving all these puns that we've just got flying across the screen right now.
This is my favorite season. Spooky season's my favorite. So I'm here for the ghost puns.
Heck yeah. We'll see how many more we can get out of here. All right. Let's see. Next question. Oh, real quick, Jasmine. Yes, the decks, the recording will be available after the session is over today. So do not worry, you'll receive it. All right, moving on here. We've got one from Caitlin. After how many soft bounces should you unsubscribe a contact? Ooh, that's a good one and terrifying.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I think that you can, there's some marketing automation platforms will actually do this for you automatically. And I would kind of defer to their logic, although they all have their own, it's like the Whataburger secret sauce, right? Like they all kind of have like their own like parameters for what they're deeming. I would probably defer first and foremost to your marketing automation platform, or go check and see what their categories for that are. Double check and make sure that you're comfortable with what they're calculating as a soft bounce. Some of them I think are a little bit more rigid than others. But you know, I'm personally more of a strategist than I am a deliverability person. So I'm not going to get too far into the weeds on that. That would be a good place to start, is what is your marketing automation platform deeming as a soft bounce? How are they calculating it? And are you comfortable with their out of the box rules? Best practice, especially as we come out of the Great Resignation, which I think we're probably still in the middle of, is generally speaking, you should be running a list cleanse every year. Your list is going to go 25% cold in B2B, generally every 365 days. I would probably move up that time frame following the Great Resignation. I might do every 6 months until we get through this, because there's just so much change in the job space right now, not impacting B2C as much as it is B2B. But it's a huge impact for our B2B lists right now, as there's a lot of people changing jobs.
Oh yeah, a lot of people moving around, a lot of domains changing, a lot of usernames changing. So oh yeah. Oh my goodness, that's a horror story on its own.
It's very scary.
Yeah, literally. Oh my goodness. Well, Natalie, it looks like that is all the time we got today. We had so much fun with you. We got to figure out maybe another holiday we can have you come back. We'll figure it out again. But oh my goodness.
Thanks so much. It's been really fun. If anyone wants to stay connected with me, I'm always open to LinkedIn and Twitter, and love to talk about B2B email. So happy to chat with anyone. Thanks so much for having me. This has been really fun.
Natalie, what's your Twitter handle real quick if people want to give you a follow?
I am at Natalie T. Jackson. So just drop a T in the middle of my name, and there you have it.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. Natalie, so good to have you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. Be careful on your way out. Like I said, there's a mad person running around here. I got to be careful on my way out too. But hey, luckily all the campers and viewers are nice and safe right now. So be careful on your way out. Oh man, watch out for those poker guys. Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Good to see you, Natalie. Take care. Oh my goodness, y'all. Lots of fun here.